Hi, I'm Lori Fangio, and I'm taking on the Philadelphia Cream Cheese Challenge. And today I'm in my kitchen preparing an unbeatable appetizer, my creamy tomato basil soup with creamy cheese pillows. They are amazing. You are going to want to try this. And the best part is it's actually pretty easy. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is turn my pot on. I've got a big soup pot going. And I'm going to add canned tomatoes. That's the shortcut to this dish. And I'm going to use two 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes and one 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And that is going to form the base of our tomato soup. To that, I'm going to add one 14-ounce can of chicken stock. What makes this soup so delicious is Philadelphia brand cream cheese. We're gonna add that at the end when we add the rest of the dairy, and it's gonna make it really creamy and delicious. So we're just gonna give this a little stir, and then to that I'm gonna add a little seasoning. I'm gonna start with some fresh ground pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to add some onion powder. This just gives it a little bit of a kick. So just a little bit of onion flavor that's really, really nice with the tomatoes. And then I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. And what that sugar is going to do is it's absolutely going to make those tomatoes just come alive on your tongue. Not only are they going to taste nice and tangy, but you're going to taste the sweetness in the tomato as well. Okay, so now that's all there is to this part. I'm going to put my lid on, turn my other burner on, and get started on those delicious cheese pillows I was telling you about. They are absolutely amazing. I'm going to put the lid on because we know the lid has to go on for that pot to boil. All right, I'm going to take another saucepan, and in this pan I have 1 stick of butter. To that butter, I'm going to add a cup of milk. While we are waiting on that to come to a simmer, I'm going to go ahead and get my basil ready for my creamy tomato basil soup. And one of the things I wanted to show you, a little trick that I learned, it's called a chiffonade. And all chiffonade means is strips in French. And all I'm going to do is take fresh basil leaves, and I'm just going to stack them up in a nice little bundle like this. And I always put the bigger leaves on the outside and the smaller leaves on the inside. And I'm just going to roll that up just like that. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to slice through just like this. And that creates the little ribbons. And that's all chiffonade means in French, is ribbons. Okay, so we're going to stir that up and put the lid back on. My mouth is already watering thinking about this delicious dinner that my family is going to have tonight. Meanwhile, my butter is melted and my milk is hot. Can you see that the pan is starting to steam? Once the pan starts to steam just a little bit, it's time, and all of your butter is melted, it's time to add in the flour to this. We're also going to put some salt and pepper in there, and I don't think I have that measured out, so I'm just going to give this a few grinds of salt and a few grinds of fresh ground pepper. What we're making here for the cheese pillows, it's really a French dough called a choux paste, and it's really simple, but you just have to follow a few guidelines. And one of them is you want your milk and butter to start to bubble, which they are, and then you add your flour, 1 cup, right in, just all at once, just like this, and you cook it. You beat it vigorously at first until it all comes together, and you're going to cook this for about 2 minutes. And when it's ready, it begins to stick to the bottom of the pan. It's got a distinctive texture. And once we've cooked the flour and the milk and the butter, it needs to cook because you don't want your choux paste to have a raw flour taste. So once it's cooked for a couple of minutes, we're going to take it off the heat. We're going to add it warm to our food processor along with eggs and cheese. You got it, Philadelphia brand cream cheese. That's what's going to give these creamy cheese pillows their delicious texture and taste. Okay, our dough is ready to go in the food processor, and this is what it looks like. The dough is actually sticking to the bottom. You can see the film on the bottom of the pan, And that's how you know that it's ready. So we're just going to take this and put it right into the food processor just like this. And then moving kind of quickly, I'm going to add a little bit of fontina cheese, about 1/4 cup. You could use Parmesan cheese, cheddar cheese, really any kind of cheese that you like. And then of course 4 ounces of Philadelphia brand cream cheese. That's what's going to give it its creamy texture. And then this is hot, but in spite of the fact that it's hot, we're going to add 4 eggs that have already been cracked right into the food processor, and we're going to turn this on as quickly as we can because we don't want our eggs to cook. So, just turn my food processor on. Process. And in a matter of seconds, we are absolutely going to have choux paste all ready to go. It just takes a few minutes for the cream cheese to incorporate and all of the fontina cheese, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. Once our soup has reached a boil, it's time to use our immersion blender to puree the soup. Let me just check this. I think it's done. Yes, it is. It looks amazing. Can you take a look at how smooth and silky that is? That is a perfect choux paste. All right, we're ready. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and puree my soup. Now, you don't have to puree your soup if you don't want to, but I like a smooth texture. And actually, before I puree it, I'm going to move it up here to the front burner, and I'm going to add more cream cheese. So I've got 4 ounces of cream cheese in the soup to make the soup really creamy. And then I've got 4 ounces of cream cheese in the cheese pillows. I'm going to add the dairy in. And I'm also adding 3/4 cup of heavy cream. You could also use half and half. You could use whole milk if you were trying to cut back on the fat. And incidentally, you could use the third less fat cream cheese if you wanted. It's fine either way. But tonight, I'm going all out. Okay, the soup is ready for me to use the immersion blender, and I always turn my burner off when I'm using this, just for safety's sake. The immersion blender works great. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can always use your regular house blender. Just remember that this liquid is hot and it expands. So if you're going to put it in the blender, be sure that you cover the top with a dish towel so it doesn't explode all over your kitchen. And this is my creamy soup. It's just looks wonderful. I'm going to turn it back on. And now I'm going to add the cheese pillows. And for this, I just like to use a regular kitchen scoop, and I just drop the choux paste in, just 1 scoop at a time, and I make as many pillows as I like. And then once I've got this step done, I just cover cover with the lid, and I simmer for about 15 minutes to allow the little cheese puffs to get done. When you're simmering, you want to be sure that you're not doing a rolling boil because you don't want these to stick to the bottom. And so all a simmer means is you're just going to have little bubbles forming around the edge, and that's how you know you're cooking it at the right temperature. So on medium for about 15 minutes until the cheese pillows are all done. And when we come back, I want to show you how I plate this for a delicious appetizer that would start any meal with perfection. My tomato basil soup with creamy cheese pillows is all finished and ready to be eaten. I've got it on this nice, beautiful plate. This would be an excellent starter for any delicious meal you have to serve. And believe me, your guests are going to love it, especially the little cheese pillows. And I can't resist. I just have to try it. Oh, it is delicious. It's packed with flavor. The cream cheese gives the soup a really nice, creamy body and consistency, and those cheese pillows, they're the best. I hope you'll try my recipe soon and use Philadelphia brand cream cheese, of course.